Okay then, so now we're going to dive into the gear, the equipment that you will need to take your show on the road. So this is what every professional entertainer should bring to their gigs, all right? So the first up, you're going to have a PA system. This is the core of your sound. You want to invest in a good quality PA system. I cannot emphasize this enough. Now, it doesn't have to be ridiculously expensive, but make sure it's good quality. Okay, make sure the sound is as good as it can be. I'd say get the best PA that you can afford, because this is going to be what people judge you on. And a bad system can make you sound bad. Okay, some venues do provide their own PA systems, but it's not all of them. And if you're going to take this seriously, you want to be a professional performer, entertainer, you're going to need to bring your own sound. If you ask to borrow PAs all the time, it just looks amateur. So get yourself a decent PA, the best one you can afford. Now, how to choose the right system. Now, picking the right system, it depends on your act. Are you a solo performer or are you in a band? Also, the size of the venue you're going to be playing at. How many people are you going to be performing to on a regular basis? How big are the rooms you're going to be playing in? This is going to determine what kind of PA that you will buy. A solo performer versus a band are going to require different setups completely. So, as a solo performer, you want something which is lightweight and portable, ideally, because you're going to be carrying this by yourself, unless you can afford a roadie. You're going to be bringing this in and out of your car. You're going to be setting it up at every gig by yourself. So you want something which is lightweight, portable, and quick and easy to set up. I think a great example of this is the Bose L1 line array system. Okay, this was the first PA I ever bought. At that time when I first bought it, I didn't even use a mixer. I literally just had my guitar and my PA, and I did plenty of gigs with just that setup. Later on, I upgraded and I bought a separate mixer, but you don't need to. If you're just starting out, you're a solo performer, the Bose L1 line array systems are awesome, and you can get different versions of line arrays. There's many different brands who make them now, but I think the Bose ones are great. I've used it myself, so I just know they sound good. They have excellent vocal clarity, and for a small unit, it actually fills venues really well. Like, I played small outdoor festivals with this PA. I played pubs packed full of people. I think it can fill a room of up to around about 250 people just fine. Okay, so it's great for small venues. The current setup I use is the RCF 15-inch powered speaker. So I just went with one of these because it's an absolute beast. To be honest, it is really heavy. I miss the Bose line array system for its how lightweight it is, but I wanted something with a little bit more oomph. I was getting a lot kind of larger gigs, and I wanted something with more power so I could have a bit more versatility in my setup. So I use that with a small Yamaha mixer. Okay. So here are some line array systems. You've got the Bose L1 Pro. This is the 16, so you have an 8, a 16, and a 32. At the bottom, you see this kind of box at the bottom, which is basically the sub. It's where all the low end and bass comes out of, and you can just slide this kind of pole which comes out of it, which has smaller speakers, where the kind of mid-range and high end comes out of. And this packs down and it slides into that bass, so it ends up being just the size of the bass. So it's very easy to just chuck in the boot of a car. Okay, and the Bose L1, they aren't that cheap, to be honest. The 16 isn't that cheap. You can get the 8, which is a bit cheaper, but I couldn't recommend these systems enough. Comes in at around about 1,490 British pounds. You can always pick one up secondhand off Facebook Marketplace. I literally think getting stuff secondhand is the way to go when it comes to musical gear most of the time, as long as it's tested and it's not faulty. Then you have the JBL PRX1 coming in at £1,385. I used this once in a small kind of function, like a private birthday party in a pub, and they had one of these, and I was really impressed by how it sounded. I I was using the Bose L1 and I noticed it didn't really have as much low end, and then I went and played through this and it's got such fat low end, and that's actually what made me want to upgrade my PA, because I realized how much low end I was missing out on. And then you have the Electro Voice Evolve, which comes in at 1,440. Haven't played through one of these, however I have heard good things. I think I've seen a band use 2 of these side by side as well. So that's also a very good option. If you are in a band, you can use 2 of them, so you get that stereo sound. Or even if you're in a solo performer and you want a stereo sound, you don't mind carrying in 2 systems, that is also a great option if you want. And then you have the Yamaha Stage Pass MK2 coming in at the cheapest of all these line array systems at £1,029, which is an absolute steal. And Yamaha normally makes great stuff. So if you do want something larger and you want a stereo sound, so if you don't know what stereo is, mono is just all of the sound is just coming out of one centralized speaker, and stereo is where you can pan the audio left and right. So for example, you could have a guitar. If you've got 2 guitar players, you could have one guitar coming out of the left side, one guitar coming out of the right side. You can pan any backing vocals, and then have like the drum kit coming right down the middle and cymbals being panned. So with a stereo sound, there's a lot more versatility in that kind of line of things. Also, if you do buy a single speaker as well, they do tend to actually be a little bit cheaper in a lot of instances than the line array systems. I think because the line array have become so popular with solo performers, it has boosted the price up. So I just used the one RCF Art 945A. It has one 15-inch speaker, comes in at £1,224. I'm sure, you can find one cheaper if you go pre-owned or demo or something. But sounds great. So if you just want one of these, I would go over 15-inch because you're just going to get more power. And yes, the RCF is awesome. Then you have the RCF Art 312A Mark IV, which comes in for the pair at £1,400. So slightly smaller speaker in each of these, but then you can have a full stereo sound, which kind of tends to fill the room better as well. And then you have the Yamaha DBR12. So again, another 2 12-inch speakers, comes in at £1,000. So an absolute steal for those 2 speakers. Bear in mind, if you do go with the single speakers like this, you are going to need a stand with these as well. So that will add on to the price as well. I think I picked up my stand for my RCF. I think it cost me like £80 or something for a decent. It was made by Hercules. Hercules makes some really good stands. So yeah, that's the line array and the full kind of paired or single powered speaker. So then for bands and larger acts, like I mentioned before, you will need a stereo sound, 2 powered speakers plus a mixer. With a band, you'll need more channels on your mixer for multiple instruments and vocals. So here are some PAs which I'd recommend for bands. You tend to want, with a band, you really do want, I think 15-inch speakers are the way to go. If you have a band, I would say 12. For smaller venues, pubs, you can play like smaller outdoor festivals with 12-inch speakers and even 10-inch speakers. But I think the 15-inch just gives you a little bit more headroom. They're more high-powered, so you don't need to drive them as much. So you've got the Yamaha DBR15 coming in at £1,314 for the pair. You then have the Mackie SRM450 coming in at £1,078 for the pair. And then you have the Alto TrueSonic TS315 coming in, an absolute bargain, the cheapest out of all these systems, at just £899 for 2 powered PA speakers. So if you're on a budget, you could get both of these, or even if you're a solo performer, you could just get one of these as well, and that would do just fine. So here's some tips. You just always want to make sure that you check the venue size and the acoustics of the venue to determine what kind of system you're going to want to buy. And also consider expanding in the future. This is why I bought the singular RCF powered speaker, because if I ever do end up playing much bigger venues, then I always have that option of adding that second speaker, which will just give me more power and more sound, and that stereo sound as well. But right now, because I'm on my own, I'm just the one RCF speaker does me just fine, and I can't imagine lugging in two of those, and plus two wouldn't even fit in my car anyway. I've only got a small car. So then quality gear equals better sound and a more professional appearance as well. So invest in the best system you can. So let's talk microphones. So we have the Shure SM58. This is probably the most popular microphone ever, to be honest, for live use. All of these are dynamic microphones. Dynamic tend to be a lot more focused, so they don't pick up all the sound around them. Condensers tend to pick up all of the sound around. So generally, if you're performing live and you want a good vocal mic, you want a dynamic microphone, you cannot go wrong with the Shure SM58. I use this for years, and it is still used by professionals to this day. And it comes in at around about £109 for the SM58. And I believe now they sell one with an on-off switch, which they never used to have, funnily enough. I actually upgraded to the Telefunken M80. Comes in at around £249. And I mean, this just gives, I think this gives just a little bit more crispness and clarity to the vocals than the Shure SM58. The Shure SM58 has a very unique sound, but I'm really happy with the M80, to be honest. It was a bit more expensive, but I'm happy with the upgrade, and I can't see myself needing another mic for a long time. And then if you want to really splash out and you want the most premium option, you have the Shure KSM9 coming in at £499. This is obviously a very professional microphone. If you're going to want the most best quality sounding vocals for your live shows, then and you want to splash some cash, go ahead and get one of these. Notable mention as well, Neumann mics also make some really, really great mics as well. They do tend to be very expensive though, but any of these three would do you just fine. So let's talk mixers. So as a solo performer, it's probably just going to be your vocal. You're going to need one input, XLR input for your voice. If you have an instrument, you're going to want an input jack for your guitar or keyboard or whatever electronic instrument you're plugging into it. And maybe you have a stomp. I use a stomp box as well, so I plug that in a third channel. So really, I only need 3 inputs. The mixer I have at the moment, it has 2 XLR inputs and 4 instrument inputs. I'm going to be going through, show you the one I use in a sec. So a full band, obviously you're miking up a full drum kit. That's going to take a lot of channels. Then you have probably like at least 1 or 2 guitar players. You're going to have a bass guitarist. And then you have maybe the main vocal and then maybe 2 backing vocals. So you're going to need around about, I'd recommend a 16 channel mixer for a full band, maybe even more, depending on how many mics you want to have. So you want to kind of balance space. How much space is it going to take in your setup? I think if you're a solo performer, you're going to want something which is small and compact, something which is portable, but also what gives you the channel requirements that you need. So on the left, this is the mixer I currently use, the Yamaha MG06X. So this comes in at £158, and it has, like I mentioned before, 2 XLR inputs, 4 instrument channels, and then you have an effects channel as well. You have reverb, you have delay on it, you have the EQ, so you can EQ it, and you have a gain and then a level knob as well, and then you have a master volume. So for me, this is all I need. Like, it's perfect for a solo performer. I think unless you have a second musician playing with you, then you might want to upgrade to something larger. But even still, I've played gigs with another singer before, and this has been fine. I just plug their vocal into the second channel. The only thing is if you do need to use the third or any more than 2 channels, you've only got EQ on the 2 XLR inputs. So just something to bear in mind. And then if you need something larger, let's say you're in a band, the Yamaha MG16XU is basically the larger version of this. And you can see you've got the sliders, you've got way more equalization on it, way more channels. So this would do fine, I think, if you're in a band, or maybe you want to get its bigger brother as well. So, but this should be able to work fine for most band setups, I think, and it comes in at around about £509. So some essential accessories you're going to need cables. This will be microphone cable, so XLR cables. You're going to need instrument cables and power cables for your PA systems, your pedal boards, and always bring spares. I cannot emphasize this enough. I carry a massive gym bag full of cables to every gig because you just don't know if they're gonna break. Cables are always getting trod on, and the jacks, the input jacks, can get a bit worn over time. So eventually they will break, and you don't want to be caught out at a gig. Imagine turning up to a gig and you're about to perform, and then your cable breaks. It's the only one you've got. It'd be an absolute nightmare. So make sure you've got spares. Then strings, always take at least 1 spare set, ideally 2. I break strings at gigs a fair bit, and it's just handy if you can quickly put that string back on. And yeah, you have to stop for 5 minutes, but you want to make sure that you don't get caught out there. And then 9-volt batteries. These are used for your guitars, for your pedals, if you use a wireless system. I always take at least 1 spare 9-volt battery. My guitar needs a 9-volt battery because it's it's electroacoustic, plugs into the PA system. So you want to make sure that you bring spares as well, because they do fatigue fairly fast. One normally lasts me about 4 or 5 gigs before I need to put a new one in it. So I always bring a spare. And then stands, mic stand, maybe multiple mic stands if you've got a band, and stands for your PA if required. If you have a line array system, you don't need to have stands for that because it's just kind of sits on the floor. However, if you do have single powered speakers, you'll need a stand for that. Okay. You don't really need spare stands for your PA system. I don't know anyone who brings spares for that, but having a spare mic stand is always helpful, especially if the mic clip breaks. And then some other accessories, picks. I always have at least 5 or 6 picks with me for every gig. Capo, I bring a couple of those with me. I wouldn't be able to play my gigs without a capo. My songs move up and down keys all the time. A clip-on tuner, really handy. Even if you have a pedal board with a tuner on it, I'd recommend getting a clip-on tuner, because I find sometimes a clip-on tuner can actually be more accurate than the pedal tuner. So it's just good to refer to both just to make sure you're really in tune, because if you're not in tune, it just sounds terrible. And then, of course, a guitar strap. I mean, one of those is normally fine. I only normally bring one to a gig, but if you want to bring a spare, go ahead. And then some optional extras, promo material. So this could be banners. You can get those kind of roll-up banners with your logo on it and a picture of you maybe, and your social media links. Always good to promote your social media. So if people want to book you for another gig, they can get hold of you. If you're playing, they can't speak to you. So if you have a banner there with that info, it's always good. If you're in a band, having a backdrop behind the drummer looks awesome, or even a custom drum skin is always good promo. Just looks more pro. And business cards as well. I don't use business cards anymore because I actually have a little, it's like a tabletop stand. So you know when you're at a restaurant and you get those little plastic tabletop stands with a QR code on it. I went on Etsy and I bought one of those so I can have a QR code. So when people scan it, it loads up a little link tree so then they can have all my socials. So this is really portable. Saves me from setting up a banner or anything like that. And you can just chuck it on the table either next to the bar or next to you on a table. And it means people can just go up. If they like the music, they can scan it and they can follow you. And then lighting and visuals. This is something which I haven't invested in, but a small LED light as a solo performer can be really, really nice. It can give good ambience and effects. Just again, it's all about creating a vibe, creating atmosphere. So lighting can really do wonders for this. And then an iPad or a Kindle. So you can have, if you need lyrics or chords, which you want to have up, so you can refer to those while you're performing. I wouldn't recommend you rely on that, but it's always good to have. And then have that a mic stand attachment for that, so you can just clip it in front of you. So I know some people who actually use their phone. For me, the screen's too small. I use a Kindle, but I know there's actually more apps on the iPad which are actually specifically for performers. So I'm actually considering getting an iPad for this purpose. Okay, so summary. Gear matters. The right gear matters. Invest in the best gear that you can afford. It's going to make you sound better. You want a good PA for good sound reliability. Make sure you choose the right one for the kind of act you are. Choose a good mic. I mean, the SM58 is just fine. If you want to splash more cash, then go ahead, get the Telefunken or the more high-end, sure. But the SM58 is just fine. You don't need to spend crazy money on that. Invest in a good mixer with enough channels. If you plan on expanding, get a mixer with more channels. And then match your equipment to the venue and size of the act you are. I can't repeat that enough. And then bring any accessories and spares and optional promo equipment to your gigs as well. Okay, so this covers the equipment section. Hope you enjoyed. See you on the next one.